I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're doing on our farm like these guys have, and hopefully my presentation is as good as theirs. We farm south of here about, a big hour, and this short presentation here, only 15 minutes, so it's going to be pretty brief. You can always track me down later if you want to talk more. I'm going to tell you why I think it's important. I'm going to hit on a little different angle than these guys. I'm going to just give you my quick thoughts on what I would do, or how I choose my GPS, and a little bit on signals and what I've learned about signals, and then just how I'm using precision ag on my farm, and where I think I'm going next. There's always more to learn in farming. As I mentioned, we're located in Claresholm. I farm with my father and two uncles. We're cropping about 7,000 acres, and we got some cows and about 500 of them, a little bit of hay going on, so it keeps us busy. We started with light bar guidance about 15 years ago, got auto steer shortly after, and have been just spending more money on technology ever since. I think precision ag is very important. I've played with variable rate. I'm not quite at the stage that Jason is there. We're not there yet, but I see it as a big important tool in on-farm research. I think Ty's got a session on that later. And over the past 5 years, since I've started getting really involved, we have not put down a single new input of any kind on the farm without running it through some sort of farm field scale research trial with check scripts. So I can get a pretty good handle on what all my inputs are doing, and if I should invest more in that particular type of input or less, or is there a better input out. I use GPS for everything. It's a record-keeping tool more than a steering tool. Steering's nice, record-keeping's better. Anything my hired guys do, I see whether they want me to or not. When you're choosing a GPS system, just be careful, because they don't all play with each other as nice as sometimes claimed. I run a rainbow farm. I got every color, every make of equipment. And trying to make one GPS work with all the equipment. It's a challenge, you can do it. Be careful when you're shopping, because, it will all talk, it's just sometimes takes more time and persistence than you maybe want to spend. Have a good GPS tech at your dealership. Make sure you got a good GPS tech. Yield mapping is the most important thing. If you have nothing else, get yield mapping. Next, I like my prescriptions. Machines that can log and write and read prescriptions, especially in your seeders and your sprayers, because that really helps with the data tracking. Because if your machine has that capability, you can rig it so that anything your hired guy or your dad or whoever does, you will see on your computers for record-keeping purposes later. Get good software, again, that's what the record-keeping. Learn how to use it, and make sure you stress to your employees, take the time to set the machine properly in the corner of the field, and then go to work. Once they get onto it, especially if you hire a bunch of young guys, they'll do it in like 2 minutes. I got a young guy who's been doing it for been working for me for less than a year, and he's figured it out faster than me. And this is just farming. Only buy it if you're actually going to use it. Spend the time, learn how to use it. It's well worth it. It's a great tool. This is going to get a little more technical, but I think it's important, and they did ask me to talk a little bit about it. There's currently 2 satellite constellations flying around in the sky. The one that we all use. Your handheld GPS uses it, some phones use it. It's made by the Americans, it's the American Wide Area Augmentation System, or WAAS. And then there's the Russians, they put up the Global Navigation Satellite System, or GLONASS. And just to confuse you even further, the Europeans are putting up Galileo, supposed to be operational in late 2012. I think Europe has bigger issues than Galileo right now. Currently I have receivers that pick up only the Americans, the WAAS, and they're good. That's what most of you guys have. That's what we started with 15 years ago. And then I got receivers that pick up both constellations, both the American WAAS and the GLONASS. A lot of the new receivers do it automatically without you even knowing it. And they're always a little more accurate, not to a large extent, but you've always got more satellites, and it's just slightly better, and it doesn't cost much more. As I've alluded to, we do a lot of on-farm research. My most complicated plot work to date has been a 28-plot fertility trial composed of plots 120 feet wide, because that works with 3 seeder widths and 1 sprayer width, by a 1/4 mile. Research on this scale, it's nice to have this little increase in accuracy that the GLONASS system offers, having the joint signals, without having to pay the extra money for like an RTK or some sort of corrected signal. This is a pictorial representation of the plot. If I started overlaying all of my maps, I get confused. As you can see here, well, I guess every color here represents pretty much a different trial. Every other strip there, you see a green, and that's my check strip. But every color other than green is a separate fertility trial involving different rates of 4600 put down in a mid-row band with a John Deere disc drill at different rates at seeding time. And then we went on top of it with liquid 2800 at 3 different stages at 3 different rates on top of those trials. So we have trials with everything from no nitrogen whatsoever to just 4600 in the seed row, to some 46 and some 28, then to only 2800 at 3 different stages. All in this, and we are trying to work on tiller management, a little bit of straw management. Can we get a little more nitrogen efficiency? Can we get better bang for our fertilizer buck? And proteins, how does all of this affect proteins, and can we spread our workload out? Can we be fertilizing less in the spring at seeding time and more at the sprayer when it's too windy or too rainy to spray weeds? But the beauty of this plot, you guys are looking at this going, wow, 28 plots, that's hard, that's complicated, it's a lot of work. It's really not. This plot was done by 100% pre-programming using software. You go in, you pre-program your guidance lines, so you just have to go in, hit your ABs, and the thing will drive in the proper straight lines. You can pre-program, and it's the same as making any variable rate prescription. I could pre-program my drill to do all these plots automatically. Then the extra work was, the only extra work we had to do was load up the sprayer at these 3 different times, and you just go spray the whole field. And the hired guy, he'd just go with the sprayer on the prescription, and it would do all the rate changes automatically. No thinking required. I did all the thinking in the winter with the help of, like, I mean, there's 4 guys around the table trying to figure this out. And it's so simple to do this. And then combine, same thing. You just drive in. That took a little extra work because I wanted to collect proteins. But the hired guy drove the combine. Every sample, I went out and I pulled it out, made a bag out of the hopper and wrote down the sample, like the plot number, then sent it off for sampling. And that was really the only time where it took a lot of extra work during the actual workload. And to be honest, in between I was catching up on my phone calls and emails when my hired guy drove. And he just kind of gave me the elbow every time he started a new plot and say, make the boss climb in the hopper while I try to jerk the combine around a little bit so he can fall off. Anyways, we had good fun. And then, of course, now, like December, after farming was done, I started analyzing the results, and we're already trying to figure it out for next year. And I'm hoping to do this type of trial for the next 3 years, and then after that, we might be making some major changes on the farm, how we fertilize. As I've stated, pre-programming, do it, but on-farm, I had over 20 on-farm research trials on my farm last year. A large portion of them done, employees didn't even notice. Some of them were accidents. Oh, we just changed a chemical because we ran it. Oh, now I got a research trial with a yield map, you can log that. And when you're doing these type of trials, I'm able to better pinpoint every input by testing on our own operation. I don't have to take the camera rep's word. I mean, they're not trying to mislead you, but they have to make broad recommendations about this chemical for the entire western prairie provinces, or maybe just the south. If you're really good, they'll be able to give you the south part of the province. Well, sorry, that doesn't always work on my specific farm in my specific area. So I'm able to test all of these, and it's really not that hard, not that expensive, and it doesn't take a lot of time out of the growing season. Next step, keep doing these research trials. I'm learning how to fine-tune them, how to make them very easy. I'm working on the possibility of RTK guidance on my sprayer, because I mean a lot of times with a lot of this for fertilizer work and some of these trials, we're spraying, especially irrigation, 5 or 6 times. So why am I making 5 tracks in the field where if I had an RTK system, I could just make 1, kill the crop once rather than half killing it 6 times. I'm not sure I'm going to have it in place for this year, you know, family farm, we've got to take things slow sometimes. But we're going to get there. We're also playing with a 4th tank on my air drill to further speed up on-farm research. Because sometimes, you know, if you're using a really expensive fertilizer, a really expensive product, you don't want to, because I mean, generally our rule has been, you know, we do whole tank trials, right? We don't stop after 5 acres of change. It just, I don't have time, right? You dump your drills, you go a whole tank, and that's your trial. Where if we have this little tank, you're like, okay, here, dump 4 bags of this in, and then you just have the computers make your plots automatically. And then also on your seeding canola, you can throw the canola seed in there and work with that a bit. So that's where I'm going. There's always lots. Playing with BRT, I'm just playing. Like I said, I'm not there yet. It shows some potential, but I'm just not going to talk too much about it because I am still really learning. Thanks for your time, and I think it's questions now, right?